Okay, wow. I guess we are live right now. First of all, this is the Tech Behind FinTech show. I want to wish everyone a happy new year. Um, just definitely happy new year today. Wanted to come on, won't be too long. Wow, what a year. Definitely historical um, in terms of everything that we have been through this year with the pandemic and so forth. So today's show is really just going to go over some interesting articles that we found that happened recently. And yeah, and I think that's what we would do now. Had to make some technical changes this morning, so I'm working on not our existing system that we normally use, but a different one. Let me get the comments going. Hope everyone can hear me. Should the sound should be coming in. All right. Where do we get started? Okay, I'm just getting the whole setup going right now. We are definitely live. Okay, so once again, Happy New Year. This is the Tech Behind FinTech, where we discuss the technology behind the financial services industry, both with disruptive fintechs and also traditional firms. We usually will be bringing various guests on. That's what we've been doing for the last few episodes. It's been Christmas and New Year, so it's been solo shows for right now. But getting the technology guest on and getting people from different perspectives, we always look forward to that. I just want to make sure I'm coming in clear. I'm looking at my other system. Let me just make sure of something. Give me a second. I just want to coordinate it on my end to make sure that you guys are seeing me. Okay, yeah, you are. It's definitely on right now. I'm not gonna put it because it's kind of distracting to see it on another screen. Yeah. So yeah, essentially, that's where we are at. I think on the technical side, we're good. So yeah, so I mean, we're looking forward to a very. I mean, I think 2021 is definitely going to be an exciting year compared to what we have. I mean, 2020 was totally at the. It was crazy, to say the least. But what are we going to go over today? So an interesting. Oh, first of all, let's jump into. We talked about Ripple last week, and I want to give an update on that. That's the cryptocurrency coin XRP. Before we get into other news, so if you have a Coinbase account, so as of in January 19th, Coinbase will suspend trading on XRP. So that's definitely happening on January 19th from Coinbase. So I know last week we had some smaller exchanges stop trading on it, but now Coinbase is one of the bigger ones. So I think that's major in terms of XRP, and that's in relation to the SEC lawsuit against Ripple. And if you want to look into that, we talked about that at length last week's episode on so the it's there for you to view. Uh, Another news article that I saw that was really interesting in terms of fintech in the islands is in actually Barbados. So I have a surrogate family in Barbados by way of my college roommate. So definitely I found that interesting. So let's talk about that. So Barbados is to implement real-time banking. So by November 2021, banking institutions will be able to transact business in real time in Barbados. So that's something that's going on right now. Their Minister of Finance, Ryan Strawn, hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. I'm gonna read a I'm gonna read a quote. We have given a mandate that we want to make it easy for people to do business with government and to do business with people. The coconut vendor at the side of the road on Sunday morning, the hairdresser, the barber, the person who has the small shop, and the doctor. We want to be able to onboard technology. These persons, such as that, we're able to break down barriers that have barred the growth of small business sector for too long. So they're going to introduce a real-time payment system and also new features for credit reporting that will unlock access to credit for small business. I think that's major in terms of the fintech opportunity, because as we see, that's what does fintech do, right? We have traditional banks, and then we have these other technologies that come in and totally disrupt markets. Another thing, there's a Barbados fintech company named Bit, and they became the first fintech to complete and exit the Barbados regulatory sandbox framework. So what happens with these what the regulatory sandbox framework, it enables innovative technology companies to basically test their product on a small scale and to see if they adhere to regulatory guidelines. So that's a very interesting development. Obviously, when you see something like that happening on one island, it's a cascading effect on others. I'm definitely interested in looking at moving forward. So, what other aspects can we talk about? Let me close this screen. It's kind of distracting on my side. Also, let's talk about projections. We talked about XRP. Talked add that to the subject of today's show for future reference. I'm going to definitely be following that and seeing what's being done in terms of fintech in the islands, because definitely would rather be working remote in Barbados. I have a friend, have a lot of people working remote actually in Barbados. So I'm going to hit her up and talk about that. So let's talk about fintech projection right now. Let's go, research saw a couple of articles on it, and then I think after getting into that and start preparing for our future episodes with our future guests, some interesting topics. And m-commerce enablement, space catches fire, so that in fintech futures, basically more mobile enablement for the smaller shops. So right now, a lot of small businesses go to it, but what if they had their own apps? There's a company called Glide that basically, in terms of develop that on their own. We saw that same thing happen years ago with websites, right? Before it was like, early 2000s, it was like, oh, you have a web developer. Then you started to see sites that basically content management systems that had end users were able now to create their own websites real quick. I had a non-technical, no programming. So we're probably going to see that happen more so. It was an example that was made in that space in terms of, imagine clicking on an ad on Instagram and immediately the hairdresser's space is filled and she's booked. So that whole technology enablement. More fintech and banking partnerships. So we talked about this a few weeks ago. It's the same concept, right? Even though the bigger institutions. Oh, okay. Let me post that up real quick from LinkedIn. Lincoln said, interesting. Barbados is stepping up. No, it's totally interesting. Look, and I think that's really one of the advantages in the fintech space. You have the ability for technology plays to disrupt existing markets, to enable different regions that are traditionally, maybe might not have certain infrastructure in place, but now through our mobile apps and different things, they can get that. I was reading about outside of this is an interesting article. I was talking to a friend about it. It's a company, and they basically, like I said, I didn't plan on talking about this, but it just came up based on our topic right now. And what this company does, it's a plastic recycling company, and essentially, people around the world, they'll collect plastic, give it back to this company. The company will then give them a card, like a crypto card, right? So now they have some sort of commerce outside of fiat, like hard currency. And then that same company takes that plastic, and then they're able to create products for other manufacturers. So it's a complete end-to-end cycle. And what we see with fintech is that enablement, right? The different people around the world who they might not have had the traditional banking we see here in the US or UK, now they're part of the game. Now you're seeing these different products. So and once those things open up and it's backed by a government, you have developers and startups now with innovative ideas figuring out how to take it to the next level. So I'm that's one of the reasons why I'm totally fascinated by the industry per se. I mean, from our perspective, outside of hosting the show, obviously we're a technology service provider, so we look to support fintechs, but it's definitely a very exciting industry in terms of what it can enable for the non banking community and so forth. So no, thanks for the comment, Lincoln. Appreciate it. Okay, where were we talking about projections for the future? So yeah, we talked about m-commerce enablement. We talked about more banking partnerships. So same concept, right? Even though the banks are huge and they have a lot of resources, sometimes new projects take a while to kick off, and you have these fintech companies and smaller companies doing one specific thing really well. So sometimes the bank will partner with them, or you have and another trend. So yeah, another trend is that just sometimes just straight acquire them. Um, but so that's definitely what we're seeing. Another trend that we saw for 2021, pandemic proofing. That was a really interesting title. Basically, developers can help the financial industry better pandemic proof their processes by integrating better document viewing, file conversion, data capture tools into their software solutions. Not only can they automate traditionally time consuming and error prone manual data entry tasks, but they can also build an additional functionality to auto generate data for new contracts and allow people to sign documents digitally to eliminate the need for face to face meetings. So I don't know if anyone has tried to open up a business account during the pandemic, but they just for some banks require so much, KYC, know your client data, and doing all those things remotely is extremely difficult. And a lot of times they still require you to physically sign something. So looking at that trend, how do we make that easier in a remote world? Obviously, things are going to open back up, but I think what this year has shown us is that we need to really, even though things open up, we need to really start thinking about how to conduct business remotely when people are physically not there. So it was something that was more on the horizon before, and now we're seeing it as a necessity for business survival. All right, what other trend are we looking at? Yeah, I mean, another one that we saw was around, like we said before, the acquisition play. So, when you have these bigger companies like the Amex, Mastercard, like Visa acquiring Plaid, it's like if anything that potentially disrupts their commerce, they'll just buy it. So probably seeing more of those types of uh, you know, bigger companies buying smaller fintech shops. So that's interesting what we see on that end. And I'm sure there's tons of other ones. This was just like some quick ones we just wanted to talk about and just touch base with some news articles that we found interesting during this week. So obviously New Year's Day. Wasn't planning on staying long today, but definitely wanted to hop on to remain consistent. So just let's talk about the tech behind fintech and what our plans are this year. We have an interesting lineup of guests. Like, and the goal is I want to hear from you guys also. Like, what are you interested in learning about or talking about? And I'll do my best to bring a guest on to talk about that topic. So, things that I'm fascinated about, and I'm talking to someone about it. She's going to be a guest. Quantum computing and how is that going to impact the fintech industry? I mean, there's just so many different applications around quantum computing. It's definitely been a buzzword, but there are people behind the scenes really doing it, doing a lot of research in it, and also financial institutions that have adopted it. So it'll be interesting to bring that guest on board and really break it down, help us understand it more and dive into it. So I'll be looking forward to that. Bringing on more execs in the fintech space, just to talk about their technology stack. That's something we definitely have planned. Bringing on some vendors who support that space. So, just and obviously, some of my colleagues in the past and people I know that work in the space. Some of my friends and colleagues from bigger firms probably will not be able to come on just because of compliance issues and so forth. But definitely we'll try to get the guests that we have on, get people on that can give their perspective on the technology aspect, because that's really our goal, right? Is to really talk about the technology aspect of fintech. So what are we gonna what's the last thing? Okay, so every week we do a lot of outreach and try to get more fintechs into our network. And those that join, I'd like to give them a shout out on the show. So I'm gonna definitely put them in the comments and the hashtags, but it's a couple I can talk about right now. Envil, thanks for joining our network. 55 IP, Sizzle, Deal, Clio, and Airfox. And I'm gonna start fintech company fintech shout outs. So I'll add in a comment afterwards for fintech shout outs. We'll start making it a thing every week. Listen, everyone, have a happy new year. I hope you enjoy your New Year's Day and your New Year's weekend. I know it's a holiday weekend, and those who are coming back on Monday, let's kill it this year. And just looking forward to just being optimistic, basically, and just looking forward to definitely happy to literally be alive these days. And I think that is it. So to all, have a great day, and we are out. Cheers.